3 years ago, Kieran almost died. While he was in a coma, his family made a decision. They sold his company, his life's work, for $2 million. They told him he signed the papers. He believed them until this morning. This is the story of a man who just discovered his entire family is built on a lie, and the moment he had to look his father in the eye and ask, why? It was a copy of a legal document dated 3 years ago, the exact week he had been fighting for his life in the hospital after the factory accident. His eyes scanned the signatures at the bottom and his blood turned cold. His father, Victor, his mother, Helena, his older brother, Aldrich, and his younger sister, Rosalind, all four of them. Every single person he trusted with his life. They had signed papers transferring ownership of his construction company, the business he had built from nothing over 12 years, to a corporate buyer for $2 million, money he never saw. Money that disappeared while he lay unconscious, not knowing if he would ever walk again. Kieran's hands trembled so violently that the papers almost slipped from his grip. 3 years. For 3 years, he had wondered why his company suddenly had new owners when he woke up. For 3 years, his family had told him the same story, that he had signed those papers himself before the accident, that he simply did not remember because of the head trauma. And for 3 years, he had believed them. Now he stood in his driveway, 43 years old, staring at proof that the people who were supposed to love him had stolen everything while he could not even open his eyes. The anonymous letter attached to the documents contained only one line: "You deserve to know the truth." Kieran drove straight to his parents' house. His father was in the garden, pruning rose bushes like he did every Sunday morning. Victor looked up when he heard the car door slam, and something flickered across his face: fear, maybe, or guilt. "Who sent this?" Kieran threw the documents at his father's feet. "Who sent this to me?" Victor set down his gardening shears slowly. He was 71 now, his hair completely white, his shoulders curved from age. But his eyes still held that same calculating sharpness Kieran remembered from childhood. "Where did you get those?" Victor asked quietly. "Someone mailed them to me. Someone wanted me to know what my own family did behind my back." Helena appeared at the back door, drying her hands on a kitchen towel. When she saw Kieran's face, her expression crumbled. She knew. Without even seeing the papers, she knew this moment had finally arrived. "Kieran, please," she started. "You have to understand." "Understand what, mother?" "That you robbed your own son. That you sold my life's work while I was dying in a hospital bed." "You were not dying." Victor's voice rose sharply. "That is exactly the problem. The doctors said you might never wake up. They said if you did wake up, you might never walk again, might never think clearly again. We made a decision." "A decision?" Kieran laughed bitterly. "You made $2 million. Where is that money now?" "I never saw a single cent." Silence. Helena pressed the towel against her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. Victor stared at the ground, his jaw tight. "Aldrich," Kieran said slowly. "Aldrich has that new house, the one he bought 2 years ago, the one he said he saved for, and Rosalind paid off her student loans and took that trip to Europe. And you too, you renovated this entire house. New kitchen, new bathrooms, the vacation you took last summer. Every piece of the puzzle clicked into place with sickening clarity. You split it among yourselves. You divided up my money like I was already dead. We did not know if you would ever come back," Helena sobbed. "Kieran, your father and I sat by your bed for weeks watching machines breathe for you. We had to make impossible choices. The only impossible choice was stealing from your son. That was impossible. Yet you did it anyway." Kieran looked at his mother, the woman who had sung him to sleep as a child, who had bandaged his scraped knees, who had told him every day that family was everything. She could not meet his eyes. "I want every cent back," he said coldly. "I want the name of the buyer and I want my company. Or I will hire a lawyer and I will destroy all of you in court." He turned and walked back to his car. Behind him, he heard his mother's sobs growing louder, heard his father calling his name. He did not look back. The next 6 months became a war. Kieran hired an attorney named Petra, a sharp woman who specialized in fraud cases. She told him the truth on their first meeting. The statute of limitations complicated things, and proving forgery on documents that appeared legitimate would be an uphill battle. But Kieran did not care about winning. He cared about punishment. Aldrich tried to reach out once. He called Kieran's phone one evening, his voice shaking. "Brother, I know you are angry. But please, you have to let me explain. There were things happening that you did not know about." Kieran hung up. Rosalind sent letters. One arrived every week, handwritten on pale blue paper, filled with apologies and explanations he refused to read. He threw each one away unopened. His parents hired their own lawyers. The battle lines were drawn. A family that had eaten Sunday dinners together for decades now communicated only through legal documents. Then, 8 months after he received that anonymous envelope, Kieran got another call. Rosalind was in the hospital. He almost ignored it, almost let the phone ring out. But something made him answer, maybe the memory of the sister he once knew, the little girl who had followed him everywhere when they were children. It was Helena calling. She collapsed at work, his mother said between sobs. The doctors say it is her heart. Kieran, please, she might not make it. She has been asking for you. Kieran closed his eyes. The rage inside him burned just as hot as it had for months. But beneath it, buried so deep he had almost forgotten it existed, was something else. Something that remembered teaching Rosalind how to ride a bicycle. Something that remembered carrying her on his shoulders at the county fair. He drove to the hospital. Rosalind looked so small in that bed. She was only 34, but she looked ancient, her skin gray, her eyes barely able to stay open. Machines beeped around her just as they had beeped around Kieran 3 years ago. You came, she whispered when she saw him. Tell me why. Kieran sat in the chair beside her bed. Tell me why you signed those papers. I need to hear it from you. Rosalind's eyes filled with tears. She lifted her hand weakly, and it trembled in the air like a leaf. I signed them to stop something worse. What could be worse than stealing my company, losing you completely? She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering strength. When she opened them again, her voice was barely audible. Father owed money, Kieran, a lot of money to dangerous people. He had made bad investments years ago and borrowed from the wrong sources to cover it. When you got hurt, they saw an opportunity. Kieran's chest tightened. What are you saying? They were going to take everything anyway. Your company, your house, your savings. But that was not enough to cover the debt. They made threats, Kieran, real threats. Against your wife Nadia and your daughter. They said if we did not cooperate, they would hurt them while you lay helpless in that hospital. The room seemed to spin. The deal we made selling your company to the buyer, it was not what you think. The buyer was connected to those people. It settled the debt. It kept you alive. It kept Nadia and Ira safe. Why did no one tell me this? Why did you let me hate you for 3 years? Rosalind's tears spilled down her cheeks. Father was ashamed. He could not face you knowing you would learn what he had done, how his stupidity put everyone in danger. He made us all swear never to tell. He said you would hate him forever, so instead I hated all of you. I know, her voice broke. I wrote you so many letters trying to explain without breaking my promise. I thought if you just read them, you would understand something was wrong, you would ask questions, you would find out on your own. But you threw them away. Kieran thought of all those pale blue envelopes crumpled and tossed in the garbage without a single glance. Who sent me the documents? He asked. The anonymous package that started all this. Rosalind was quiet for a long moment. I do not know for certain, but I think it was Marcus, the man Father owed. He died 6 months ago. His son took over the business and did not care about old secrets. Maybe he thought exposing us would hurt Father one last time, so even this truth was sent as a weapon. Yes, Rosalind reached for his hand. Her grip was so weak he could barely feel it. Kieran, I am not asking you to forgive Father. What he did was wrong, hiding his mistakes, dragging us all into danger, forcing us to lie to you. But please, please do not spend the rest of your life hating everyone. Kieran looked at his sister's face, so pale, so tired, so young to be lying in a hospital bed. She had carried this secret for 3 years. She had accepted his hatred rather than betray their father's shame. I'm sorry, he said, the words rough in his throat. I'm sorry I threw away your letters. Rosalind smiled weakly. I have copies. I kept copies of all of them. They are in my apartment in the drawer of my nightstand. Take them. Read them. I said everything I wanted to say. She closed her eyes, exhausted from speaking. Kieran sat with her through the night, holding her hand, watching the machines track her failing heartbeat. Rosalind did not make it to morning. She passed away at sunrise, with Kieran still holding her hand. The family gathered in that hospital room, all of them together for the first time since the truth came out. But there were no accusations now, no lawyers, no legal threats. There was only grief. Victor could not speak. He sat in the corner, his face hidden in his hands, his shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Helena held Aldrich, both of them crying openly. And Kieran understood finally what his sister had been trying to tell him. The truth was not simple, it never had been. His family had done terrible things, but they had done them out of fear, out of desperation, out of a twisted kind of love. They had been protecting him in the only way they knew how, even if that way was wrong. A week after the funeral, Kieran went to Rosalind's apartment. He found the drawer she had mentioned, and inside were 47 letters, one for every week she had tried to reach him. He read them all in one sitting. They told the whole story. The gambling debts, the threats, the terrifying phone calls that came while Kieran was unconscious, the decision that tore the family apart. And through every single letter, Rosalind's love for her brother shone through like light through broken glass. The last letter, dated just 2 weeks before she died, ended with these words: "I know you may never read this. I know you may hate me until the day I die. But I want you to know that if I had to do it all over again, I would still sign those papers. I would still save you. I would still protect you, because that is what family does, Kieran. Even when it breaks us, even when it costs us everything, we protect each other." Kieran sat alone in his sister's empty apartment, those words burning in his hands. He had spent 3 years consumed by rage, 3 years cutting off the people who loved him, 3 years convinced that he was the victim, that they were the villains. And now Rosalind was gone, and he would never have the chance to truly make it right. He had discovered the truth too late. The real betrayal, he realized now, was not what his family had done. The real betrayal was how he had responded, how he had let anger blind him to the possibility that things were more complicated than they seemed. His father had made terrible mistakes. But his father had also been trying to protect him from dangers Kieran never knew existed. His family had signed his fate, but they had signed it to save his life. And Kieran had found out too late to thank the one person who had never stopped fighting for him. He pressed Rosalind's last letter against his chest and wept, not just for her, but for all the time he had wasted, all the words he had left unspoken, all the love he had thrown away because he was too proud to ask questions before he condemned. Some truths arrive like gifts, others arrive like punishment, and sometimes, by the time we finally understand, the person who deserved our forgiveness most has already slipped beyond our reach.